My name is Victoria Boyers, 28 years old. I should have been celebrating. It was supposed to be the moment I finally claimed my own space, my independence, the life I had been quietly carving out since my grandmother passed away. The housewarming party had been on my mind for months, ever since I moved into Grandma Rose's three-bedroom house. For half a year I had been living here alone, but until tonight I hadn't shared it with friends in a real way. The house still smelled faintly of Grandma's rose-scented candles, even after all the repainting and redecorating. I had chosen muted cream walls, replaced sagging armchairs, added new curtains that let sunlight pour in. Yet I kept her fireplace intact, her old rocking chair in the corner, and a few floral doilies she always insisted made a home softer. For me, this place wasn't just a house. It was memory woven into wood, brick, and air. By the time the evening settled in, 20 people filled the living room. Coworkers from the office, college friends I hadn't seen in years, and a few neighbors I thought might liven the atmosphere. Laughter and chatter mingled with the faint crackle of the fireplace. Sarah, my closest friend, brought her famous spinach dip. Mike, one of the guys from work, had everyone laughing with terrible puns. For the first time in a long time, I felt proud. Like maybe I hadn't just inherited a house, I had built a home. And then my parents arrived. Mom stepped inside with her lips pressed tight as though she'd bitten into a lemon. Dad lingered behind her, eyes sweeping the room without saying a word, clutching a beer that would barely leave his hand the rest of the night. They didn't smile. They didn't compliment the house. They just looked around like this party was an obligation, not a celebration. I ignored their sour expressions, trying to focus on my guests. But every time I glanced their way, Mom shot Dad some secretive look, like she was silently criticizing everything. The food, the wallpaper, maybe even me. Still, the mood in the room stayed light, until I heard the unmistakable slam of the front door. Surprise! My heart dropped. There, standing in the doorway like she owned the place, was Lily, my sister, arm draped over Marcus, her fiancé. Both of them were already drunk, faces flushed, stumbling like they'd just crawled out of a bar. Which, judging by Marcus's slurred announcement, "We were at Murphy's down the street and thought, why not crash the party?" was probably true. I hadn't invited them. I hadn't spoken to them in over a month. But here they were, barging into the one evening I had wanted for myself. The room went silent. Even the fireplace seemed to hush its crackling. My parents' faces transformed instantly, the sourness gone, replaced by bright smiles, relief even, as if their night had finally begun now that Lily had arrived. "Nice crowd, Victoria," Lily smirked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Very suburban." Sarah shot me a look, brows raised, while Mike stared at his shoes like he'd suddenly remembered something important there. "Thanks for coming," I said evenly, forcing calm into my voice. "There's food in the kitchen if you're hungry." But Lily wasn't interested in food. She wanted attention. She kicked off her heels with a loud thud and began wandering the rooms like an appraiser at an auction. "Oh, wow, you really kept all of Grandma's old doilies?" she called out from the dining room. "Very retro. And this wallpaper, oh my God, Victoria, it screams 1985. "I like it," I muttered through clenched teeth. "Of course you do," her voice echoed as she drifted into the kitchen. "And look, the ancient refrigerator. How sentimental." Marcus, meanwhile, was gesturing wildly with his beer, spilling foam onto my freshly cleaned coffee table as he launched into some exaggerated story about his job. My friends exchanged uneasy glances. Janet, a soft-spoken coworker, caught my eye and mouthed, "You okay?" I gave a helpless shrug. What else could I do? Lily returned to the living room, arms folded, eyes scanning everything like a queen, disappointed with her servant's efforts. "The bathroom tile is hideous, and don't even get me started on that carpet upstairs. Honestly, Victoria, how do you live like this?" My parents sat there, silent, allowing her to dismantle everything I had built, every choice I had made. Their eyes didn't flicker with disapproval. No, they watched her the way people watch fireworks, enthralled, amused, indulgent. The mood shifted. One by one, my guests began excusing themselves. "Early morning tomorrow. Long drive ahead. Thanks for the invite." I smiled and nodded as they left, my heart sinking with each goodbye. Soon the laughter was gone, replaced by the awkward silence of an unraveling evening. When only a handful of people remained, my parents, Sarah, Janet, Mike, and of course Lily and Marcus, I dared to hope maybe Lily would run out of steam. For a few minutes she was quiet, standing near the fireplace, gazing at the mantel where I had placed framed family photos and, most importantly, Grandma's urn. It was a simple ceramic urn, white with delicate blue flowers, hand-painted on its surface. I had chosen it carefully, wanting it to reflect both fragility and beauty. Every time I looked at it, I thought of the woman who had raised me with tenderness when my parents were too busy coddling Lily. Lily placed her hand on the mantelpiece. She tilted her head, smirking, and then, with a casual sweep of her arm, whether careless or calculated, I'll never truly know, she knocked the urn to the floor. The sound of shattering ceramic was sharp enough to cut the air. Ashes spilled across the hardwood like gray snow. "Oh my God," I whispered, my chest constricted, vision blurring. My grandmother, reduced to dust, was now scattered on the floor like she was nothing. Lily gasped theatrically, hand covering her mouth. "Oh, something fell. Oops, sorry, that was totally an accident." She smiled, bright, fake, triumphant. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the couch, clutching my head. I wanted to scream. I wanted to claw at her smirk. I wanted to scoop up every grain of ash and somehow put my grandmother back together. "Victoria, honey, it's okay," Mom rushed to my side, voice patronizing, dismissive. "Nothing terrible happened. You don't need to react so harshly." I snapped my gaze toward her. "Nothing terrible happened. That was Grandma." "It was an accident," Dad said firmly. His tone was final, like a judge slamming down a gavel. "These things happen." "You shouldn't have put the urn there anyway," Mom added. "Anyone could have knocked it over. You should have kept it somewhere safer." I stared at them, disbelief burning through me. Even now, even with Grandma's ashes on the floor, they were defending Lily. Always defending Lily. Sarah fetched a dustpan and broom, kneeling silently as she swept the ashes into a mason jar from my kitchen. Her eyes glistened with sympathy, while Lily lounged on my couch, smiling faintly, enjoying the show. That's how my housewarming party ended, with my grandmother's remains being swept into a jar, my parents excusing it as nothing, and my sister smirking like she'd won some invisible game. Later that night, after everyone had left, I sat alone on the couch. The mason jar sat on the table, filled with ashes that would never fit back into the urn. I stared at it, numb, rage simmering beneath the surface. For the first time in years, I felt something shift inside me. A quiet, dangerous realization. I was done. After the disaster of that night, I couldn't shake the image of Grandma's ashes spilling across my floor. It wasn't just the act itself, it was everything it represented. Lily's carelessness, my parents' blindness, the pattern of my entire life replayed in one terrible moment. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's smirk, Mom's dismissive wave, Dad's firm tone telling me it was an accident. By morning, the shock had hardened into something sharper. Anger. And beneath that anger was grief. Grief for Grandma, grief for the childhood I never really had, grief for the years I wasted waiting for my family to see me. I thought back to 6 months earlier when Grandma Rose passed away, heart attack in her sleep. Peaceful, they said. It hadn't felt peaceful to me. The phone call shattered me, and yet no one else in the family had stepped up to handle the funeral. It was me who chose the funeral home, arranged the flowers, wrote the obituary. Me who greeted guests at the service, while Mom wrung her hands and Lily dabbed her eyes, making sure everyone saw her sorrow. And when the inheritance was split, equally, at least on paper, I got the house and Lily received a check for the same value, about $600,000 each. But here's the thing. Money vanishes, a house remains. I had responsibility, not just bricks and mortar, but the weight of family history. And Lily? She got freedom. She poured hers into a dream wedding and some vague investment opportunities Marcus claimed would double their fortune. I kept my grandmother's memory alive. Lily bought centerpieces imported from Italy. Even before Grandma's death, the favoritism had been obvious. When we were kids, vacations were always chosen based on Lily's preference. If Lily wanted the beach, we packed swimsuits. If Lily wanted mountains, suddenly Dad discovered a passion for hiking. Movie nights, birthday parties, even what restaurant we went to, it all orbited around her. And I, quiet, patient, practical Victoria, was the afterthought. The good daughter, the easy one, the one who didn't complain. The truth is, I never wanted to complain. I just wanted to be seen. Weeks after the housewarming disaster, I found myself at Sunday dinner again, out of habit more than desire. We had always gathered on Sundays, pretending to be a happy family for 2 hours, slicing apple pie while pretending everything was fine. That night, though, Lily decided to drop her latest bombshell. "We've been thinking," she said casually as she buttered her roll. "Since our lease is ending soon, it makes perfect sense that Marcus and I move into Grandma's house." I nearly dropped my fork. "Excuse me?" "It's obvious, Victoria," she continued, unfazed. "We're getting married. We need a real home, not some cramped apartment, and that house is perfect for starting a family." The gall of it left me speechless for a moment. "That's my house. Grandma left it to me." Mom jumped in immediately, like she'd rehearsed this line. "Sweetheart, you don't really need a 3-bedroom house. You're single. You don't have children. Wouldn't it make more sense for Lily and Marcus to live there?" Dad nodded in agreement. "Exactly. You could rent a nice apartment downtown. You make good money. But Lily and Marcus, after the wedding, they'll want children. That house deserves a real family in it, not just one person rattling around." The words cut deep, not just because of the implication that my life, as it was, didn't qualify as a real family, but because they didn't hesitate to push me aside. Again. Lily gave me that same smile she'd worn the night she knocked over the urn. "Come on, Victoria. Who knows if you'll ever even get married? It's not like you've had the best luck with relationships." It stung. She knew it stung. But I forced myself to keep my voice steady. "Grandma divided the inheritance equally for a reason. We're in the same position. You chose to spend your money on a wedding. I chose to keep the house. That was your choice." Lily rolled her eyes. "That's completely different. I deserve to have the wedding I've always dreamed of. I shouldn't have to give that up because you're clinging to some old house." And then it happened. Something I almost never did. Something that shocked even me. I said no. The table went silent. You could have heard the clock ticking in the hallway. "No," I repeated. "I'm not giving you the house. That's final." Mom's eyes narrowed. "Victoria, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable." My voice cracked, but I didn't back down. "Grandma left it to me. It's mine. End of story." The silence stretched until Lily's face hardened, her voice turning icy. "Fine. I see how it is. You'd rather see your own sister homeless than share what you got handed to you for free. You're not homeless. You have 600,000. "Had," Marcus corrected. "Most of it's tied up in deposits." "Then maybe you should rethink your priorities," I shot back. That's when Lily exploded. She leapt to her feet, shouting about how I'd always been jealous, how I was bitter and selfish, how I wanted to ruin her happiness. Her voice filled the room like a storm, words sharp enough to pierce skin. And my parents, they just sat there, watching, as if her rage was justified, as if I had brought it on myself. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping across the floor. Without another word, I left. I drove back to Grandma's house, tears streaming, chest heaving with the weight of years I'd swallowed down. In the quiet of her rocking chair, I let the grief pour out. But even in that pain, there was a strange sense of clarity. For the first time, I had said no. And though it broke something between us, it also lit a fire in me. I realized I didn't have to keep bending just because they told me I should. I didn't have to keep being the shadow in Lily's spotlight. For once, I could choose myself. The silence stretched for weeks after that dinner. No calls, no texts, no half-hearted check-ins from Mom. Lily's absence should have felt like relief, but the quiet left me raw. Every time the phone rang, I half expected another argument waiting on the other end. Instead, there was nothing. I busied myself with work, long walks, and late nights painting the spare bedroom. Anything to keep my mind from circling back to that moment at the table, my voice, finally firm, saying no. A word that felt both terrifying and liberating. Then, one Thursday evening, my phone buzzed. Her name lit the screen. Lily. I almost let it ring out. My thumb hovered over decline, but curiosity won. "Victoria!" Her voice was light, friendly, like nothing had ever happened. "How have you been? It's been forever." I waited, wary. People don't call with that much sugar in their tone unless they want something. She sighed, playing the weary victim. "Look, Marcus and I have a tiny favor to ask. We ran into some trouble with the mortgage. His credit's not perfect, and with my freelance income, the bank won't approve us without a guarantor. You're literally the only one who can help. We'll make every payment on time, I swear. You'll never have to worry about a thing." My stomach dropped. There it was. "I need to think about it," I said carefully. "Of course. Take your time. It's just, the house is perfect for us. $800,000, can you believe it? It's our dream home. We said goodbye, but her voice clung to me like smoke. An hour later, Mom called. Lily mentioned the mortgage, she said without preamble. Don't worry about the payments. If they ever struggle, your father and I will step in. You won't be stuck with anything. Mom! Victoria, she's your sister. Families help each other. This is nothing for you, just a signature. Her words coiled around my heart. A signature, a piece of paper. And maybe they were right. Maybe it would be fine. After all, hadn't I once struggled with landlords myself? Hadn't I once prayed for someone to help? For 2 days I wrestled with it. My head screamed, don't do it, but guilt whispered louder. She was my sister. Blood. Was I really that cold? So I said yes. The paperwork arrived by email, neatly packaged, every box filled out except for mine. All I had to do was confirm, one click, and Lily's dream would come true. I sat at my laptop late at night, cursor blinking on the signature line. My finger hovered. Then my eyes drifted to the mantel, to the mason jar, to the ashes that would never again rest in the urn Lily had shattered. The memory hit me like a punch. Lily's smirk, Mom's words, you shouldn't have put it there anyway. Dad's voice, it was an accident. Something in me snapped. I closed the document, clicked decline. The system asked me to confirm. Are you sure you want to withdraw? Yes, it asked again. Are you really sure? Yes. A third time, as if mocking me. This action cannot be undone. Yes, I whispered, my finger firm. The next morning, the calls began. First, Lily. Cheerful confusion. Hey, the bank says there's a problem with the paperwork. Must be some glitch. Call me back, okay? An hour later. Victoria, what the hell is going on? They're saying you withdrew. This has to be a mistake. Call me now. By evening, the sugar was gone, replaced with acid. You selfish bitch. Do you have any idea what you've done? We've already put deposits down. You've ruined everything. Marcus left one voicemail, just him shouting obscenities, his voice cracking with fury. Then Mom. Calm but disappointed, that tone she wielded like a knife. Victoria, I don't understand why you're doing this. Lily is beside herself. You need to fix this immediately. Family doesn't treat each other this way. I turned off my phone. For the first time in my life, I didn't cave. But defiance carried its own weight. Alone in the house, I felt my chest tighten. Was I truly heartless? Was I condemning them to failure? The next evening, when I pulled into the driveway, my headlights swept across figures waiting on the porch. Mom, Dad, Lily, Marcus. All four of them, like a wall of judgment, faces pale in the glow. My heart dropped. I hadn't just said no on paper. I had declared war. They were waiting when I pulled into the driveway, 4 silhouettes lined up on my porch like a tribunal. The headlights of my car painted their faces in harsh light, Mom's tear-streaked, Dad's stony, Marcus pacing like a caged animal, and Lily clutching her phone as if she might throw it at me. My chest tightened. For a second, I considered putting the car in reverse and driving away into the night. But I didn't. I couldn't keep running. I cut the engine, grabbed my bag, and walked toward them, heart pounding. Victoria, Mom started, before I even reached the steps, her voice sharp with desperation. You have to fix this. The sellers are threatening to back out. We'll lose the deposit. That sounds like a you problem, I said evenly, forcing my voice to stay calm. My hand shook as I fit the key into the lock. How can you be so cold, Mom demanded. She's your sister. My sister who smashed Grandma's urn and smiled about it? My voice cracked, but I kept my eyes on the door. It was an accident, Lily shouted, her crocodile tears streaming now. She clutched Marcus's arm like she might collapse without him. I told you that. I turned and looked at her, really looked. The watery eyes, the quivering lip, the way her voice pitched higher when she needed sympathy. And for the first time, I didn't see fragility. I saw performance. Was it? I asked quietly. Because it felt like you wanted to hurt me. And you did. Her tears vanished instantly, replaced by fire. You are such a bitch, Victoria. I should have known you'd find some way to sabotage my happiness. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm just not saving you anymore. Dad finally spoke, his tone heavy with disappointment. This isn't like you, Victoria. You've always been there for family. And where has family been for me? The words burst out of me before I could stop them. When have any of you ever been on my side? Silence. None of them had an answer. Marcus stepped forward, hands raised as if he could negotiate his way out of this. Look, maybe we can work something out. Loan us the down payment. We'll pay you back with interest. I laughed, an ugly, bitter sound I barely recognized as mine. With what money? Neither of you has a steady job. Interest? Please. We're not unemployed, Lily snapped, defensive. We're freelancers. It's different. Different, sure, but not reliable. I opened the door. Good luck with that. I shut and locked it behind me, leaning against the wood as their voices rose outside. For 10 minutes they argued on my porch, voices muffled but sharp, before finally retreating. The silence afterward was deafening, but it was mine. For 2 weeks I thought maybe it was over. The calls slowed, the emails dwindled. I began to breathe again. Until one Sunday morning, Mom called. Victoria, we've all been thinking. This has gone on long enough. Lily's wedding is coming up. We need to put this behind us. Come to dinner tonight. We'll talk like adults. I should have said no, but curiosity burned in me. What new trick did they have up their sleeves? That evening, when I walked into my parents' dining room, the air was thick with something rehearsed. Everyone sat too straight, smiles too wide. They looked like gamblers holding cards close to their chests. We've come up with a compromise, Lily announced, before I'd even taken a seat. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. After the wedding, Marcus and I will move into your house. Just temporarily, she said, voice sugary. There are 3 bedrooms, plenty of space for all of us. I stared. All of us? Of course you'd still live there, she chirped. We'd just share the space until we get back on our feet. 5 years, maybe, until the business takes off and we can afford our own place. I burst out laughing. I couldn't help it. The sound echoed harshly off the dining room walls. You want to move into my house rent-free for 5 years? It's not rent-free, Marcus interjected quickly. We'd help with groceries and utilities. How generous, I muttered. Mom leaned forward, clasping her hands like she was offering a gift. Victoria, this could work. You're barely home anyway, and it would be nice for you to have family around. I looked at them, at Lily's smug grin, Marcus's eager nod, Dad's approving silence, Mom's pleading eyes. And suddenly the years pressed down on me, the childhood where Lily's word was law, the parties where my achievements went unnoticed, the urn shattering on my floor. You mean the same family that never once stood up for me? The same sister who destroyed Grandma's ashes and smiled about it? My voice was shaking now, rising with each word. You're being dramatic, Dad said, his voice firm. It was an accident. Even if it was, you all blamed me for putting it in the wrong place. Do you even hear yourselves? Lily scoffed. You've always been jealous. And now you're jealous I'm getting married. That's what this is really about. You can't stand to see me happy because you're alone. Something in me snapped. I slammed my hand on the table. No. This is about you being a spoiled brat who thinks the world owes her everything. And Mom and Dad. I turned to them, my voice breaking. You let her, every time. You always let her. Victoria Rose Patterson, Mom gasped, scandalized. That's enough. No, I said, standing. It's not enough. I'm done being your scapegoat. I headed for the door. Don't you dare walk out on this family again, Dad barked. I looked back over my shoulder. Watch me. Fine, Lily screamed. Don't come to my wedding. I don't want you there anyway. Good, I spat. I'd rather spend that weekend doing literally anything else. And I left. That was the last Sunday dinner. The weeks leading up to Lily's wedding were quieter than I'd expected. No more porch confrontations, no more ambushes at dinner, just silence. But silence has weight, and in my family, it never lasted for long. The first ripple came online. One morning, Sarah sent me a screenshot with a raised eyebrow emoji. It was Lily's Facebook post, her words crafted for maximum pity. It's sad when jealousy poisons family. Some people can't stand to see others happy and try to ruin it. But nothing will stop me and Marcus from celebrating our love. The comments flooded in. Friends of hers chiming in with heart emojis telling her to ignore the haters, calling her so strong. And of course, the implication was clear. I was the jealous hater. For a moment, I felt that old guilt clawing back, the urge to defend myself. Then I scrolled down. Sarah had already responded. Jealousy? You mean when you smashed your grandmother's urn at Victoria's housewarming party and laughed? Don't forget your parents defended you while Victoria had to sweep ashes into a jar. The post was deleted within an hour. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold, staring at the blank space where Lily's words had been. Part of me wanted to cry. Another part wanted to laugh. But mostly, I just felt tired. Tired of being the villain in her stories. Tired of her need to play the star no matter how many people she trampled on. The wedding day came on a Saturday in May. I didn't attend. Instead, I went hiking with a couple of friends. The air was fresh, the trees bursting with green, and for the first time in months, I felt free. Every step up the trail loosened the knot in my chest, as though I were climbing away from the drama, from the heaviness. Still, when I reached the summit and stared at the horizon, a flicker of doubt crept in. Somewhere, Lily was in a white dress, Mom probably crying happy tears, Dad standing proud, Marcus beaming. And me? I was miles away, not even invited in spirit. But the doubt didn't linger. It dissolved into the wind, because for once, I had chosen peace. After the wedding, the silence returned, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was clean, almost soothing. Nearly a year passed without major incident. I threw myself into work and earned a promotion. My evenings were filled with dinners with friends, the occasional date, long nights curled up in Grandma's rocking chair with a book. My house became a sanctuary. Every corner reflected me, not just the granddaughter who had inherited it, but the woman who had claimed it. Mom and Dad would call occasionally, but their words stayed on the surface. Weather, recipes, holiday greetings. No mentions of Lily. No attempts to mend the rift. Maybe they thought time would blur the edges, erase what had happened. Or maybe they had accepted that I had stepped out of the role they'd assigned me. The peacemaker, the doormat, the scapegoat. Every so often, guilt pricked at me. Usually late at night, when the house creaked and shadows stretched long across the walls, I would wonder, had I gone too far? Was I heartless for missing my own sister's wedding, for turning my back on them? But then the memories replayed, the urn shattering, my parents' indifference, Lily's sneer. And the guilt faded. Peace doesn't erase history, it just makes it quieter. For almost a year, that quiet held. But nothing in my family ever stayed calm for long. It was a Tuesday evening when the storm returned. My phone buzzed, Mom's number flashing across the screen. I hesitated before answering. Something in my gut told me this wasn't a casual call. Her voice was different, shaky, strained. "Victoria, we need to talk." My chest tightened. "What's wrong?" "We're in trouble, financial trouble. Lily and Marcus, they made some bad decisions. And your father and I, well, we got caught up in it too." I sat down hard on the couch. My heart sank, already bracing for what was coming. This wasn't just trouble. This was catastrophe waiting to unfold. Mom's voice trembled through the phone, each word dropping like a stone into my stomach. "Remember how Lily and Marcus were going to invest half of their inheritance? They found this startup company, Victoria. The man running it promised huge returns, said they could triple their money in 6 months." I closed my eyes. I already knew where this was going. "How much?" "They put in the whole 300,000. Her breath hitched. "Then they said the opportunity was so good they needed more. They took out a personal loan for another 100,000. And when that still wasn't enough..." Her pause stretched like a blade at my throat. "Your father and I invested too. Lily convinced us. She showed us charts, testimonials, guarantees. We took a loan against our house, 200,000. I pressed a hand against my forehead, nausea rising. "Mom, tell me you didn't." Her voice cracked. "It seemed safe. Everyone said it was safe." "And?" I demanded, though I already knew the answer. "The company collapsed 3 months ago. The man running it disappeared. The police said he's gone to a country without extradition." The silence that followed was suffocating. "So," I whispered, "you're broke." Her sob carried across the line. "Yes. Lily and Marcus can barely pay their rent. Your father and I, if we don't cover the loan, we'll lose the house." For a moment, I couldn't speak. Part of me wanted to rage, to scream. How could you be so reckless? Another part wanted to laugh at the cruel irony. Years of favoring Lily, all culminating in ruin because of her choices. But beneath all of it, something unexpected flickered. Relief. For once, their favoritism had backfired. But Mom wasn't done. Her voice steadied, sharpened. "We need your help, Victoria. If you sold Grandma's house, it would cover everything. We could all start over." There it was, the ask I had been waiting for, the inevitable twist of the knife. "You want me to sell my house?" My tone was flat, deadly quiet. "It's the only way. Our house isn't worth enough, and Lily's money is gone. If you sold, we could pay off the debts. We could breathe again." I stood and paced, the walls closing in around me. That house was my anchor, my last tie to Grandma, the place where I had poured my grief, my love, my memories. And now, after years of dismissing me, they wanted to take it too. "Why don't you sell your house?" I asked. "We did," she admitted, voice breaking. "It wasn't enough." The image flashed in my mind. My parents, Lily and Marcus, circling like vultures, waiting to strip away the one thing I had left. You gambled, I said, voice trembling with fury, and you lost. That's not my fault. That's not my responsibility. Victoria, please. No. The word came out sharp, final, like glass shattering. I'm not selling. You'll have to figure it out. I hung up before she could answer. My hands were shaking, my chest heaving, but I didn't call back. I sat in Grandma's rocking chair, staring at the urn, heavier now, bronze, safe behind glass. My decision was final. But decisions don't end consequences. 2 months later, the storm arrived on my doorstep. It was a humid Saturday afternoon. I had just come back from the grocery store when I saw them. Mom, Dad, Lily, and Marcus standing in my yard with suitcases at their feet. Mom's face was streaked with tears. Dad's jaw was set in grim resolve. Lily's eyes were swollen, her hair unkempt, but her expression still carried that old defiance. Marcus looked hollow, like a man who had gambled everything and lost. My stomach turned cold. They weren't just visiting. They were here to move in. The sight of them standing there with luggage was surreal, like a nightmare dressed in daylight. 4 figures, heavy bags by their sides, as if they were about to check into a hotel. Except the hotel was my home, my sanctuary. I froze on the front walk, grocery bags cutting into my hands. What is this? I asked, though the answer was obvious. Mom stepped forward, wringing her hands. Victoria, please. We sold our house, but it wasn't enough. We have nowhere else to go. You can't be serious. Just until we get back on our feet, Lily added quickly, her tone a rehearsed mixture of desperation and charm. A few months, maybe. We don't have anyone else. Absolutely not. My voice came out colder than I intended. I set the groceries down hard on the step, my pulse hammering. We're family, Dad said firmly, as though that single word erased years of betrayal. Family doesn't abandon each other. I stared at him, at the man who had sat silent through every fight, who had watched Lily tear me down again and again. My throat burned. Family doesn't make you feel invisible for 28 years. Family doesn't defend the person who smashed your grandmother's urn. Family doesn't try to take the only thing you have left. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We made mistakes, but this is different. We're in crisis, Victoria. Please, we're begging you. Lily stepped forward, her voice sharper now. If you had an ounce of compassion, you'd open the door. It's not like you need all this space. You live here alone. I laughed. Short, bitter, humorless. And whose fault is that? You think I enjoy being alone? You think I wouldn't have loved a family who cared for me as much as they cared for you? But I got this instead. I pointed at the house. This is all I have left, and you're not taking it from me. Marcus finally spoke, voice low but urgent. Think rationally. If we stay here, we can pool resources, cover groceries, help with utilities. It'll be easier for everyone. Easier? I barked out a laugh. For you, maybe. For me, it would be hell. Lily's mask cracked, her face twisted with anger. You selfish bitch, you've always been jealous. You couldn't stand that I had a wedding, that Mom and Dad loved me more. And now when we're desperate, you want to watch us suffer. Admit it, you enjoy this. The words cut deep, but instead of bleeding, I hardened. No, I don't enjoy this. But I won't let you destroy me just because you've destroyed yourselves. Mom sobbed. Victoria, please, just think about it. We'll be quiet. We won't be a burden. No, I said, voice rising. No more. You've taken enough. I won't let you in. Dad's jaw clenched. You'll regret this. When we're gone and you're all alone, you'll regret not helping your own family. Maybe, I admitted, my voice shaking now, but I'll regret it on my own terms, not while you're tearing me apart from the inside out. They all stared at me, waiting for me to break. For once, I didn't. I reached for my phone, holding it up so they could see. You have 30 seconds to leave my property before I call the police. The words hung in the humid air, heavy, final. For a moment, no one moved. Lily's mouth opened, then closed. Mom's sobs turned into hiccups. Marcus muttered something under his breath. Dad's eyes burned into mine, but he didn't speak again. Finally, one by one, they picked up their suitcases. The sound of wheels dragging across the pavement was the only noise as they walked away. 4 figures shrinking down the street, smaller with each step. I stood in the doorway, the phone still in my hand, my chest heaving. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one retreating. They were. And in their absence, my house felt heavier, emptier, yet somehow safer. After they left that day, I sat on the porch for hours, staring at the street where their figures had disappeared. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. I had won the battle, but what kind of war had I inherited? For weeks, I expected them to return. I'd tense whenever a car slowed near my driveway, half convinced it was them circling back, ready to try again. But they didn't. Instead, updates came secondhand, carried by my cousin Beth like whispers on the wind. They're in a cramped two-bedroom across town, she told me one afternoon when we bumped into each other at the grocery store. Your parents in one room, Lily and Marcus in the other. Someone's always stuck on the couch. It's not pretty. I imagined them there, stepping on each other's toes, fighting over space, over bills, over whose turn it was to clean. A family that had once looked down on me, reduced to sharing leftovers in a place half the size of mine. They all got jobs, Beth continued. Real jobs. Your dad's at Home Depot, your mom's doing data entry, Lily's answering phones at a dental office, Marcus is delivering food. They're surviving, slowly paying off the debts. It'll take years, but they're managing. I thanked her, bought my groceries, and drove home. The whole way, guilt gnawed at me like a rat in the walls. Should I have helped them? Was I cruel for letting them struggle, for refusing to open the door when they begged? Maybe I was heartless, just like Lily always said. That night, I sat in Grandma's rocking chair, the same one I had cried in after storming out of Sunday dinner. The bronze urn sat in its glass cabinet across the room, polished and solid, engraved with her name. Rosemary Patterson, beloved mother and grandmother. I closed my eyes and thought of her, thought of the way she used to stroke my hair when I was little, whispering, "Don't let them make you small, Victoria." Would she be disappointed in me now? Or would she understand that protecting myself wasn't cruelty, but survival? The memories pressed in, Lily smirking as the urn shattered, Mom saying nothing terrible happened, Dad's silence when I cried for fairness. Years of being overlooked, dismissed, sacrificed. And then, one by one, the doubts began to fade. I wasn't the villain of this story. I wasn't the selfish one. I had drawn a line after decades of being pushed aside, and for once, I hadn't moved it when they demanded I do. People might call me cold. They might say family should always come first. But family, I realized, isn't just blood. It's respect. It's love. It's showing up when it matters, not only when it benefits you. They had chosen their path, every reckless gamble, every manipulation, every cruel word. And now they were living with the consequences. As for me, I was free. I looked around the house, my house, the place Grandma had entrusted to me. The rooms carried her warmth, but they were mine now, too. I had plans. A new kitchen, a renovated master bath, maybe a garden out back. For the first time in years, the future felt wide open, untouched by Lily's shadow. I leaned back in the rocking chair, the creak of wood steady and familiar. Sometimes, I thought, the only way to honor family is to stop letting them destroy you. And in that moment, I finally felt at peace.